Bible study, and
Oh, bless your
very
heart.
grateful for that.
Good.
He's probably scared about what I'm going to ask right now.
Me?
No,
Or
Derek.
him? Okay.
He's probably like, oh, here she
I'm
goes.
afraid right now.
Are you afraid? He's trembling. Good.
I have a couple questions. My
Sure.
first one is, I believe that many people's choices are due to their experiences, their suffering many times, their brokenness. And so how does that work with hell or punishment? Because that's a difficult issue in my mind, because I don't think people are just born and decide to go do things. I think it's out of brokenness and experiences. That, and then I wondered how the churches or the church, the Christian schools, how do we go? I'm very fortunate to be in the group, but how that is going to be across the board that helps people have a more real relationship with God.
So both questions are kind of orbiting around punishment?
No.
No?
No, just how you transform the churches as a whole in our thinking. That was one thing.
How we transform the church in our thinking. Gosh, I don't think we're bright enough on our best day.
Well, let's tease these apart. Let's go with the consequence thing first. Did I hear you saying that we're a product of some of the things in our lives, and then we act out on some of that product, and then we got this hell equation in there. So let's tease that one apart first, okay? Go with the hell.
Go to hell? Thank you.
Go with it. Go with it.
Go with hell. Boy, I hope that doesn't get cut out of the tape. It's a tough issue in the limited setting we have to introduce a discussion on this topic, because it is a flame topic. People have got all kinds of standards out there, and boy, if he didn't say the right thing about hell now, I'm going to kill him, because I'll know he's one of those ultimate reconciliationists, which I'm not. But I don't think death and hell, as I read Scripture, is the punishment of God. I think death and hell is the consequence of sin. It's what sin produces. The weeping and gnashing of teeth is what sin produces in our life. It produces brokenness and destruction, and the culmination of that is a place God calls hell. And I think it's less he throws people in it than people who choose to live apart from him, choose not to embrace it. I think that's why God spends the whole of our lives trying to win us out of the second part of your question. Wherever we got stuck, whatever shack Paul got frozen in, whatever shack Wayne got frozen in, that God is at work to make his love known to us, to walk us out of the places that we got broken and got stuck. And I don't think until we draw our dying breath that God ever stops that invitation. And he's not, I think we've got this confusion of the cross sometimes, is that Jesus jumps on the railroad tracks to save us from the onrushing train. But God's the one driving the train. So ultimately, Jesus saves us from his own Father, which is, then we're supposed to love that Father? That's weird, right? It never says in the New Testament that Jesus died for God. Jesus didn't die to satisfy something in the Father. Jesus died for me and you. Jesus died to satisfy something here that kept me estranged from the God who never stopped loving me. Didn't stop loving Adam and Eve. Didn't run from them when they sinned. He still came down to be with them. They ran from him in their sin. God's holiness is not tainted by sin. It's God's holiness and affection that overrun sin in our lives and provide the cure that we can experience in him. So I don't know how we restructure our thinking. Again, I come back to that going, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I did that for me. I certainly can't do it for you. I think that's what Paul describes as the renewing of the mind in Romans chapter 12. As I learn to live in the love and affection of the Father, he begins to let me see the world differently and see him differently and see the church differently. And those are, for me, they're not, I changed my thinking about that. But all of a sudden, I'm not looking at it the same way. And I don't know why. And yet that ongoing revelation of the Father's, it's flying, I guess. In the analogy of the shack, it's the bird now taking wing. And the world looks different when you're flying for a bird than when you're hopping around on the ground. And so I do think that's a very natural process. That's why Jesus says in John 15, if you'll get the remaining right, if you'll remain in me and I'll remain in you, you will bear much fruit. Your prayers will be answered. All this stuff. He's not saying go out and figure out how to get answered prayer. Go out and figure out how to bear fruit. I say if you get the abiding right, all the rest of it takes care of itself. I was afraid to believe that for many years of my own spiritual journey. So, yes, I'm going to abide, but then I'm also going to try and do all this stuff. But all this stuff never bore the fruit. It didn't free me from sin. It didn't win the people I hoped it would win in the culture. It didn't change me internally as a person until I learned how to remain in the Father's love. And by remaining in that, be transformed. The mind's renewed. You begin to see things differently. And it's not a matter of a new proposition. I'm going to walk out of here tonight and try and make myself believe. It's not that.
So the challenge for you, though, was you continued to try to, I mean, in a basic sense, try to get God to love you more because you would do better. Is that what you're saying? That was the challenge?
Part of it. I mean, I wanted to be, this is how egotistical it is, I wanted to be his best follower in this age. I'd be better than all of you.
No.
I love the line in the shack, I'm especially fond of that. When you hear that and you go, boy, I wish Jesus would be especially fond of me, or I wish the Father would be especially fond of me. And then the discovery as you read that there's not a person on the planet God's not especially fond of.
Yeah.
God's especially fond of you. The whole idea of specialness is the whole ego of sin that's trying to earn a place you don't get to earn. And a place that none of us have. That's why I think when I said it's more difficult to live in the space I live in now, this book and the scale of it, 7 million now have been sold of this book. We're 3 weeks away from being 1 year consecutive #1 New York Times bestseller list. For a self-published book that's writing in this weird world of Christians love it and hate it, and the world loves it too and has been reading it, and we get letters from, these Crystal Digest or something that wants to interview somebody about the shack. And we're going, that's hilarious. What are those people thinking?
Got a couple of more here.
We'd love to be in that space.